This is Sibongile Ziambo with the news, the headlines. Public Appointments Committee confirms Martha Chizuma as new SCB Director General. Parliament reluctant to disclose how former MPs that lost seats after nullification of their victories are remitting public loans. Kama burst syndicate by some shops, allegedly ripping off Malawians through inflated prices on goods. And elsewhere, a new study reviews long working hours killing 745,000 people a year. Now the news in detail. The Public Appointments Committee of Parliament has finally resolved to confirm Martha Chizuma as new Director General for the Anti-Corruption Bureau. PAC Chairperson Joyce Chitsulo says the confirmation followed a voice vote that was approved by a majority of the committee members. Nonetheless, the meeting for Chizuma's confirmation was not without controversy, as some DPP MPs walked out of the PAC meeting following disagreements on some procedures. The move comes barely days after the same committee withheld Chizuma's confirmation.
In terms of the voting, there were 13 members present. Today we had an opportunity to have some members on Zoom. So there was one member on Zoom, and the rest were physically here. So of the 13 members that were present to vote, let me correct it here. When we were starting the meeting, we were 18 members present. But because of, some other misunderstandings in the committee, and people have rights anyway, so some of the honorable members felt it, good for them to move out, and they never participated in the voting. That I have to make it clear. So we had the 13 members, and the 12 said yes, we should proceed as a committee to confirm her as the SCB director. One abstained. You have a right to say, I don't want to vote. So one chose not to vote, but 12 said yes.
Minoa government spokesperson Gospel Kazako has described the move as a milestone to the country's democracy.
For the first time, especially the past 26 years, Malawi has managed to march out of the jungle. Malawi has managed to walk out of the bush. Malawi has managed to walk out of spaces that were dark. Civilization has now landed into Malawi. And today is a very unique day. Today is a very special day. Today is a celebration. Today is a new chapter. It's a new dawn. It's a new chapter because now Malawi will be run as a country. You must know that for any country to run, we must have resources. And for resources to run very well and effectively and do what those resources are meant for, we have to account for every penny that is coming from the public. We are a government that had campaigned on the premise that we are going to fight corruption and fight corruption to the core. But we knew that there's absolutely no way we would have won the war against corruption if we didn't have human software in place. And in this case, we needed to make sure that the leadership at the Anti-Corruption Bureau needed to be pure, needed to be one that is robust. We needed to have a leadership that is there to love this country and do things to follow the law. It doesn't matter who you are politically. It doesn't matter who you are, where you come from. It doesn't matter how powerful or strong you are. If you are against the law will have to get to that corner and certainly fish you out of there and do what is supposed to be done.
All leaders of some sections of the society have welcomed the confirmation of Chizuma as new SCB Director General, saying the public has high expectation in her as far as the fight against corruption is concerned. Chairperson for Human Rights Defenders Coalition, Gifty Trappin, says this gives a hope for positive change in clearing the backlog of corruption cases that have stalled for years. Leader of Government Business in the National Assembly, Richard Chimwendo Banda, says this shows that democracy is at play, as Parliament is an institution that respects democracy. We have this report for by Western Guda.
The Public Appointments Committee of Parliament has rescinded its earlier decision on Martha Chizuma as Director General of the Anti-Corruption Bureau. the rejection of Chizuma displeased some Malawians, as seen from different reactions since Tuesday last week. An example is leader of government business in the National Assembly, Richard Chimwendo, who moved a motion asking the committee to present a report when Parliament resumes Tuesday on what actually transpired. Chimwendo has said that this shows that democracy is at play, as Parliament is an institution that respects democracy.
It's democracy. If they had wanted to reject her, they should have done so. But we thank God that it has worked as the president had appointed her. We don't know if they are going to bring a report of rejection, because now the report is about confirmation.
Meanwhile, Human Rights Defenders Coalition chairperson Gift Trapens has welcomed the development, which he says has fulfilled the wish of Malawians, adding the demonstrations it planned for Tuesday are not necessary.
We are very happy, as well as Malawians, we are very happy that the will of the people has been done. I think this is what Malawians wanted. They wanted someone to be the SCB director who can work without favor, without fear. And we are telling Malawians that we are going to cancel the demonstrations, because as a charity, we don't just do demonstrations for the sake of doing.
Martha Chizuma has taken over from Reinik Matemba, who is now serving as Solicitor General. Reporting for Zodiac, this is Western Guta.
And still with Parliament, Malawi Parliament is reluctant to disclose how members of Parliament who lost their seats after nullification of their victories are repaying their loans obtained from the public purse. This is despite an outstanding month-long query Zodiac deposited to the August House through Parliament spokesperson Ian Mwenye, who keeps deferring on her follow-ups. Social and governance commentator Wanda Fumkuche has emphasized the need for public institutions to respect the access of information law seemingly being flouted by the legislature. From Blanta, Hapin Jeramanu has filed this report.
7 legislators have been deposed after the courts nullified their victories in the 2019 parliamentary elections. One of the 7 constituencies is yet to hold by-elections. These are some of the people who got 50 million kwacha each in loans as benefits for vehicle purchases to be deducted from their monthly paychecks during their time in office. Our source, a sitting member of parliament, tells us government pays 50% of the loan, while the other 50% is paid individually. In the scenario where 7 legislators have been removed from the chamber by the courts, we asked Parliament spokesperson Ian Mwenye through a questionnaire sent over a month ago on how the former lawmakers are repaying the loan and whether government will continue to foot the 50%. Despite several follow-ups, Parliament through Mwenye are yet to disclose the information. A social and governance commentator, Wanda Fumkuche, has emphasized the need for public institutions to respect access to information law, seemingly being flouted by the August House.
In the access to information law, such information has to be made public, because the MPs who lost may not be able to pay back their loans, and the government will have to pay it back on their behalf from the public purse. So people have to know how much their money is going to be used to service such loans. So it's an unfortunate development that information is not being readily available in this case.
Legislators from Mangochi West, Mangochi Northeast, Palombe North, Nkarebe Central, Chikwawa East, Nsanje North and Nsanje Central constituencies were removed by the courts.
Archdiocesan Administrator for Lilongwe Archdiocese Monsignor Patrick Tawale says the Catholic Church in Malawi lost a selfless personality in late Maria Chizanjankoma, who succumbed to COVID-19 in January this year. Monsignor Tawale was speaking at a memorial mass held at Maula Cathedral, said late Chizanjankoma used her broadcasting experience and talent as an artist to serve the Lord in spite of her busy schedules as a broadcaster. He said the life of late Chizanjankoma, who until her death was working for Zodiac, was worth emulating. Andrew Viano filed this report.
Speaking during the memorial service of the veteran and talented broadcaster, the late Maria Chizanjankoma, which was preceded by Holy Mass, Diocesan Administrator for the Lilongwe Archdiocese, who is also the parish priest for Maula Catholic Cathedral, Monsignor Patrick Tawale, said her life was worth emulating. Monsignor Tawale says the Catholic Church at Maula and Malawi in general lost a person who devoted her life for good of others.
I remember Maria as a very committed but also dynamic Catholic. Though she had a number of health issues, but she was always there. I think what they should learn from Maria is to have that life of dedication, to be committed, but also to forget oneself for the well-being of others and to give one's life up to the very end.
Late Mariachi Dzanjankoma's first-born daughter, Geraldine Sosa, says her departed mother was a cancer.
My mother, to me, was my ultimate soulmate. She was literally, by blood, by flesh, and by soul, my other half. We had a very spectacular relationship, and because I was just like her, we had our times when we completely disagreed. She had a strong head. She raised us to have a strong head, so you can imagine what that would be like. But when we got along as well, which was most of the times, it was spectacular. I always felt proud.
On his part, Zodiac Broadcasting Station Director of Programs Joab Frank Chakaza said the veteran journalist's life is irreplaceable. The late Mariachi Dzanjankoma was born on 9th August 1952 and died on January 9th this year. She worked as a broadcaster for close to 4 decades.
The Presidential Task Force on COVID-19 says Malawi will receive at least 1 million more doses of the AstraZeneca vaccine from COVAX before the end of May. Task Force co-chairperson Dr. Wilfred Chalaminankoma said that COVAX will again assist Malawi with the vaccine, but has emphasized the need to demystify beliefs surrounding it so that people come out in large numbers to get the shot. We have this report by Western Guta.
The Presidential Task Force on COVID-19 expects 1 million doses of COVID-19 AstraZeneca batch to arrive in the country in a day for the continuation of administering it. The COVAX-funded vaccine is expected to boost the number of doses remaining so far, which will see some people receiving the second jab. Co-chairperson Dr. Winfred Chalaminankoma says that there is need to demystify beliefs surrounding it so that people come out in large numbers to get the shot.
These doses for people getting their second jab will come from the current stocks that will be available at that time, as well as from the new stocks that are expected from the COVAX facility.
Health expert Dr. Precious Maki has agreed with Dr. Chalaminankoma, saying the youths contributed to the decline numbers of people who got the first jab by spreading negative stories that contributed to low numbers of the elderly who received it.
If we are to do justice to get a good demand, then we must make sure that we should enlighten people more, because there have been messages from the World Health Organization. There have been messages counteracting the good vibe that was there. Initially, the vibe was good. Everybody wanted to get a job. But with the passing of time, people have lost trust.
Malawi received 512,000 doses of COVID-19 vaccine from COVAX and government of India, of which 335,000 has been administered so far, and over 19,000 doses expired and are yet to be destroyed. Reporting for Zodiac, I am Western Guta.
Expectant mothers around Jankungu Health Center in Dowa have expressed worry with long distances they cover to access maternity services at Dowa District Hospital after a maternity wing at the center was closed 2 months ago when a placenta pit collapsed. The expectant mothers have told Zodiac that due to long distances, they are giving birth to stillborn babies, while others are giving birth on their way to the district hospital. Jankungu Health Center in charge Mnyembe Lester has confirmed about the problem, adding that the hospital toilets they were using are also full, urging well wishers to help fix the problem. Aunyango Nkoma has more.
The maternity wing at Jankungu Health Center in Dowa was closed 2 months ago after a placenta pit collapsed. Pregnant women around the facility say the situation is now forcing them to walk long distances over 23 kilometers to access maternity services at Dowa District Hospital. They've told us that due to the long distances, they are now giving birth to stillborn babies, while others are giving birth on their way to the district hospital. Jankungu Health Center in charge Mnyembe Lester has confirmed the development, adding that the hospital toilets they were using are now full and assist aged well wishers to help fix the problem. Chankungwethe Center Health Advisory Committee Chairperson Matson Chunga says, despite informing the authorities about the problem, no one is showing interest to help. More than 24,000 people access medical treatment at Chankungwethe Center. For Zodiac in Idoa, this is Aunyango Nkhoma reporting.
You're watching News on Zodiac. We'll be back after this break.
Nalero, bwenzani kungongole mosavuta. Send money to any bank or any phone number. Just dial *247#. Standard Bank. It can be.
Malawi, Sompina Amalawi watoto kula Malawi 2063 kufika 2063 kale wokomera aliyensi achinyamata tikwirane manja kula Malawi achinyamata tikale patsogolo kula Malawi wozimira paeka Malawi wokomera aliyensi Malawi 2063 kusinda dziko lathu mokomera aliyense.
Ikolole kungonjezera mayunitsi a TNM kuyambira 200 kwacha kapena kuposera pamenepo mutha kukhala mmodzi mwa mamilioneya mu TNM Tikolole promotion. Koma mukaonjezera mayunitsi ndi 100 kwacha kapena kuposerapo mudzilandira mabonus oyimbira foni, SMS kapena data pompo.
TNM, always with you. Like every mom, you want the best for your child.
Happy birthday.
You feed her mind and nurture her body. And you understand there are times you have to let her pick herself up when she falls. You make sure she knows the joy of sharing happy moments with family. And when everything comes together, you above all others will share the taste of success with her. Blue Band tastes like mama's love.
Welcome back. The headlines as we continue the news. Parliament reluctant to disclose how former MPs that lost seats after nullification of their victories are remitting public loans. Kama bursts syndicate by some shops allegedly ripping off Malawians through inflated prices on goods. And in news from elsewhere, new study reveals long working hours killing 745,000 people in a year. Moving on with the news, the Consumers Association of Malawi, Kama, has busted a syndicate some big shops are using to allegedly rip off Malawians by charging exorbitant prices on goods different from the one marked on the shelves. CAM Executive Director John Capito says shops such as Sana are those that have been found on the wrong side of the law, adding that this is against the rights of consumers. An economist, Professor Ben Kalua, has spoken against the growing misconduct, calling for urgent action on those involved. Chimwemwe Padata reports.
There are shocking revelations as the Consumers Association of Malawi, KAMA, is conducting routine checks over pricing of commodities by some big stores. According to KAMA boss John Capito, some stores are making Malawians pay exorbitant prices on commodities despite showing a lesser amount on the shelves. Some receipts shared by KAMA show that Malawians are ripped off by paying higher prices without their knowledge, even though such goods had a lesser amount on the shelves. Capito alleges that one Sana Cash and Carry shop in Blantyre is involved in this malpractice.
It's shops like Sana, it's shops like People's. We're talking about the big chains so far. That's where we have discovered some of these things. We've been doing this for the past 1 week or so, and we think that we should be finishing by end of this week.
But an official from the company, upon seeing the receipts, described the accusations as a misrepresentation of facts.
This is what I'm telling you. This is not correct, man. The customer, the picture he has taken from the shelf is the price for the 100 ml. And he is taking a product of 175 ml. So there is always a difference in price of 100 ml and 175 ml.
But an economist, Professor Ben Kalua, has cautioned against continued exploitation of consumers.
You cannot post one price in the window or on the shelves and then charge something else at the queue. That's not legal. I mean, I don't think, even if there is no law against that, I think somebody can actually take anybody to task for that kind of practice.
Up to Wednesday this week, KAMA is in a drive taking stern measures on unscrupulous traders. For Zodiac, this is Chimwemwe Padata.
The Agriculture Development and Marketing Corporation has extended with 3 weeks the period it projected to start buying maize from farmers as it awaits for the crop to dry completely. ADMAC spokesperson Agnes Chikoko has told us that nonetheless procurement of other crops like cotton, soya and beans commenced last Monday across the country. We have this report by Western Guta.
Spokesperson of the Agriculture Development and Marketing Corporation, ADMAC, Agnes Chikoko, says that the corporation has started buying cotton, soy and beans, for example, in all the regions. Chikoko says a spot check on Friday indicated that buying was progressing well, but said farmers should wait for 2 or 3 weeks before they start selling maize because the crop has not fully dried. She adds that ADMAC will buy many crops this year with 300,000 metric tons of maize alone.
We have not started this buying maize yet because the moisture content was still around 16 in the southern region, so that we get the right moisture content.
An agriculture expert from Luana, Horace Piri, has welcomed development, saying farmers will now be assured of recommended prices.
I don't think it should cause any worry because we've heard reports that the government is strict in terms of enforcing things like the minimum prices this year. And because of that, we should expect that the farmers, much as ADMAC is delaying, the farmers will still get a better deal because of the enforcement part of the minimum price.
There has been calls for ADMAC to start buying early to avoid losing the produce to vendors who dupe farmers by using unrecommended weighing scales and offering low prices. Reporting for Zodiac, I am Western Guta.
Meanwhile, Farmers Union of Malawi President Frighton Joromole says news of an extension on dates for procurement is discouraging to farmers amid temptations to sell the grain to vendors who offer prices below government set minimum prices.
We're told that ADMAC is going to start buying maize or crops last week. We are still waiting to hear from our representatives, District Farmers Union representatives. We are actually waiting to hear from them if ADMAC has started. Now, if ADMAC has come in again saying no, they haven't started buying maize, to them that's in order. But they are reminding us because we know ADMAC has always been giving promises that we are going to start or we are going to start. So we are now thinking that they are actually up to what they normally do, delaying tactics. We don't want that. If they are saying the truth that they are
going to start buying maize next week or after next week. Let it be the issue. They must actually do it. They shouldn't just be giving us empty promises. That's not going to work for us. Because we are saying we don't want to vendors because they are buying maize at a very low cost, and we are keeping the maize that we are keeping is for Adima to buy.
We now go to sports news. The Super League of Malawi Sulam has announced that second round for the current TNM Super League season will end on October 8. General Secretary Williams Banda has told us national team assignments in the COSAFA and World Cup tournaments as well as the FDH Bank Cup have all been harmonized in the fixtures for the second round, which starts this weekend. Banda says patronage during the games is still restricted to 250 people, whilst negotiations with government for at least half capacity for each stadia are still in progress. Some Banda has more.
The Malawi national football team, the Flames, are expected to participate at the COSAFA Senior Men's Championship in South Africa next month, and they will also be involved in the World Cup qualifiers in September. And there is also some space for the FDH Bank Cup, but Banda says the league fixtures will not be affected. The Sulam General Secretary says some games will be fixed during the midweek to accommodate more fixtures so that the league does not go beyond the tentative date of its end, which is 8th of October.
What we will produce is a projected schedule for the matches ending on 8th of October. Midweek games are there. Once they have been given the schedule of the games, they will thoroughly prepare for the games. We have made sure that they should conduct their business within the rules and regulations. The second round has now finally taken off, heading towards the 8th of October.
Silver Strikers Football Club Chief Executive Officer Toko Chimbali has hailed Sulam for releasing the second round fixtures, saying this helps in logistical preparations.
When you book for accommodation in advance, you pay less. So that helps a lot. And the cancellation of bookings at an 11th hour to come with a penalty or a cost. So that's why we plead to Sulam not to change the fixture. And what they'll have to do is to play games midweek for those that have been postponed during the weekend, so it doesn't affect the whole calendar.
Meanwhile, amongst the high-profile games, Blantyre-based rivals Nyasa Big Bullets and Mighty Wanderers, whose first-round tie was abandoned due to violence, are set to clash on the 3rd of July, and the capital city derby between Silver Strikers and Civil Service United is due on 4th July. Another crunchy fixture between Nyasa Big Bullets and Silver Strikers is expected on 17th of July, and Silver Strikers shall host Mighty Wanderers on 11th of September.
In news from across the borders, World Health Organization WHO says long working hours are killing hundreds of thousands of people a year. The first global study of its kind showed 745,000 people died in 2016 from stroke and heart disease due to long hours. The report found that people living in Southeast Asia and the Western Pacific region were the most affected. The WHO also said the trend may worsen due to the coronavirus pandemic. The research found that working 55 hours or more a week was associated with a 35% higher risk of stroke and a 17% higher risk of dying from heart disease compared with a working week of 35 to 40 hours. ILO also showed almost 3/4 of those that died as a result of working long hours were middle-aged or older men. And that's how we conclude this edition of news. And before we go, a look at the headlines. Public Appointment Committee confirms Martha Chizuma as new SCB Director General. Parliament reluctant to disclose how former MPs that lost seats after nullification of their victories are remitting public loans. Karma burst syndicate by some shops allegedly ripping off Malawians through inflated prices on goods. And in news from elsewhere, a new study reveals long working hours killing 745,000 people a year. Visit our website, zodiacmalai.com, for more news. This is Sibongile Ziambo. Goodbye.
just how powerful is the healing power of Vaseline. Imagine this leaf is like your skin. We applied Vaseline jelly to one leaf, the other we left alone. The difference